You read the title, and yes, in today's video, we are going to be talking about, or at least me, I'm going to be talking about some of my Spider Man hot takes. It's not really in any order, I'm just going to name some of my hot takes and talk about them. If you want to give your opinion, the comment section's open and I read all the comments that I possibly can. So let's get to it. For starters, I think organic webbing is better than having web shooters. I was somebody from like as long as I can remember, for as long as I can remember, I have been the biggest fan of web shooters. I still love web shooters, FYI. But I think organic webbing is better because not only is that it makes more sense for the whole, Spider Man can do whatever a spider can, but the organic webbing is better because it makes more sense, honestly. Having Peter, I know it's cool that Peter creates his web shooters, but if Spider-Man truly if I was bitten by a radioactive spider, I'm not a physicist, bro, or a scientist. I can't make a technical marvel. I think that's very exclusive to Peter Parker. Even Tony Stark and Reed Richards are impressed that Peter Parker managed to build his web shooters. So can you imagine just an average teenager creating that? You and me, for example, or anyone else who watches this video, just creating a web shooter. To this day, even IRL, it's not possible to create a web shooter. That's why I like organic webbing. And I, for the longest time, tried to gaslight myself into thinking that web shooters were the way. Because in my opinion, it's cool because if you have web shooters, you have so many possibilities for different web kinds like taser webs, web bomb, web gadgets, like the spider trish. You have so many things you can pull off. But in my opinion, overall, if we're having a Spider-Man adaptation or just overall you're adapting Spider-Man, I think organic webbing makes more sense. If you get my flow. Insomniac Miles Morales is the worst adaptation of Miles Morales. I hate a lot on some of the choices Insomniac has made, especially with Marvel Spider-Man 2. But in my opinion, their Miles Morales just really, really sucks. And I don't really hate the game. I love Miles Morales. It's one of my favorite, probably my favorite Spider-Man game out of the trilogy. Hot take, I know as well. But the reason why I don't like Miles in the Insomniac verse is because I feel like he is living the life that comic Miles, from the original comic books, wishes he had. I know he lost his dad, but the only thing that really does for his character is make him every other superhero who has another dead parent, And I don't really like that. I like the whole Spider-Man trying to take over the mantle route much better. And in my opinion, in his game, when it came to his game, I thought he was fine in that. But Spider-Man 2 made this guy lame as hell. Not just I'm not talking about the Golgate suit overall. I'm talking about the haircut, the style, the way how he talks. This guy is 17 years old, but yet he still he talks in such a wimpy and nerdy type way. And I'm open to new adaptations, but I can just tell that the people who wrote his character or worked on this game and tried to, do as many things with his character, they didn't do it well, bro. It was so bad. There was a glitch in Spider-Man 2 that showed a Cuban flag instead of the Puerto Rican flag. And that's how you know they messed up. Because, come on. And no hate, I think Najee Jeter is amazing as Miles. He's definitely my favorite Miles Morales voice actor and voice. When I read Miles comics, it's his voice that comes to mind. And having played these games for hours on end, you know what I mean? And I love Shamik Moore as well, but Najee Jeter is my Miles voice. It's the voice I hear whenever I read a comic book, whatever. But I just think Insomniac really doesn't write his character well enough. And whenever they, he feels like the side Spider-Man instead of just Spider-Man. It doesn't matter how hard they try to push he's Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man, he's Spider-Man. In Spider-Man 2, a lot of his side quests or just missions are side quests if you really look at it. And I feel like he doesn't have as strong of a role in the narrative as he should have. And Insomniac doesn't do that much with his character or really push his character in different directions. And he doesn't feel, besides having electric powers and maybe a different costume, he doesn't feel very different from Peter. They both are geeks, dorks. They don't really have a sense of personality. Whereas with Miles, you could have had it maybe Miles being a little bit more of an extrovert, social person, or something different from Peter. But him and Peter feel very similar in more ways than one. They quite literally feel like same person, different shade, and maybe like background differences. But like I said, the background differences, they don't really explore them as well as I'd hoped they would. Miles being raised by a Latina mom and being raised black in Brooklyn and having like he doesn't have that extra style or sauce that you would expect him to have. Whereas you look with Spider-Verse Miles, he does. He feels like a completely different character from Peter Parker and he rocks it. Like the style is better, just the like overall character writing is much better. And that's crazy because I feel like for a video game, you could have done so much more. And I love, again, like I keep saying, I love Miles Morales video game. It's one of my favorites, but overall in Spider-Man 2, his character was just butchered, and the evolve suit plays a massive role on how Insomniac ruined his entire arc of becoming his own Spider-Man, being himself. In the Miles Morales game, that was pretty much like the entire arc. It was him becoming his own Spider-Man. By the end of the game, he makes his own costume, he has his own experience, and he fixed like he's his own Spider-Man now. Even Peter throughout the game talks to him and tells him he's not going to be hovering over him or texting him. And we do see some of that in Spider-Man 2, but just not enough. It still feels like he's trying to live up to being the next Spider-Man instead of already just being his own Spider-Man. Which is why the Galgate suit doesn't make sense. Miles Morales original my. And before everybody comes to me and tries to tell me, well, he's not the worst Miles. I mean, look at 2017. All I have to say to that is, what 2017? Spider-Man is better with limited technology. Now, if there's one thing I hate, truly hate about MCU Spider-Man is the amount of tech he had, which is why I'm so relieved to see that in Brand New Day, they kind of toned it down a bit, you know? And he's not even going to keep some of his technology with his mutation. But for the longest time, especially in the Insomniac Spider-Man games, it's like technology, technology, technology. And I love Techno Spider-Man, okay? It's appealing and it's awesome to see Peter come up with new gadgets for which villains he's facing, or using a spider tracer or the spider signal, or running out of web shooters or webs in a fight and, you know, switching cartridges. I think that's cool. It speaks Spider-Man for me. But when you have stuff like him having an AI, lenses that like can scan an entire area and he can see everything, you're doing too much for me, man. Drones as well is a little bit too much. Like, we don't need all of that technology, especially not for Spider-Man. He's not Iron Man or Batman. He is, in my opinion, it should be simple. It's just a guy with web shooters, a web cartridge belt, and he wears a costume, a spandex costume, which granted, I don't know how he exactly fits all of that in one costume, like 7 pieces. But hey, it is what it is. In my opinion, back in the 2000s, when you look at some of the previous Spider-Man artwork from the past, it looks so much better and overall is cooler. Like, I could look at Scott Johnson's Spider-Man and just imagine that guy being a superhero and saving people, you know? Just a guy in a costume. No technology, no wires on the inside, no real like lenses that can have night vision or can show him everything. Like, it's just a man in a suit. I love that, and it's so classic, and it's better for me. There is no best live action Spider-Man. Now, I know that might be crazy because this debate is like so overdone for me, and it gets tiring the more people talk about it. Like, who's the best Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, or Tom Holland? And I kind of have to say none are. Look, I love all three of these guys, their portrayals of Spider-Man. While I have my issues with some aspects of certain portrayals, you know.
I don't want to hurt you. Leave now.
I guess you haven't heard. I'm the sheriff around these parts.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But overall, I think all three of them have played these characters, or the character of Spider-Man, well. And they've done their best with the scripts and writing that they were given. But in my opinion, I don't think either one of them like captures the magic that the previous Spider-Man, that I want Spider-Man to have in live action. And it's one of the reasons why you have so many people who have not read Spider-Man comics or don't know anything really about his character to a deeper level, thinking that he's this broke and loser type character who is meant to be literally word for word, bar for bar, he's just like me for real. Like, people have made Spider-Man this character who is relatable, yeah, but they've like force their issues on Spider-Man, which was another issue of modern Spider-Man comics. People are forgetting that he's a fictional character with his own life, his own characters. His relatability doesn't come from him being literally like you. It's you can relate to his problems, his fears, his issues, and the problems he faces in his everyday life. Yeah, we might not be fighting supervillains, but each and every single one of us experiences issues in our personal problems. But that's just a quick yap aside. The reason why I don't think either of them is like a great adaptation is because all of them have issues. Tom Holland Spider Man, he's too whiny. He makes a lot of mistakes. He's pretty much for the like first two of his movies. He's Iron Boy Jr. for a long time, and No Way Home didn't even really fix his character. It was more damage control. It was them realizing that the original plan they had didn't work out, so they tried to fix it in No Way Home. I have high hopes for Brand New Day, but even then, I'm still pretty skeptical, and I'm trying to not overhype it. But with the new direction, I'd like to see where they take his character. When it comes to the TASM verse, I think Andrew Garfield played Spider-Man amazingly. I love the vibe of those movies. They were great, but let's just be honest, those movies didn't work out because the massive thing, especially in TASM 2, what pissed me off was the whole Peter, his dad subplot and everything. I am open to new adaptations and maybe exploring a little bit more in Spider-Man, his relationship with his parents. You know, maybe we could have a Teresa Parker show up, but the issue is, it just doesn't work. Because in Spider Man, The Amazing Spider Man 2, like when his dad reveals that he put the blood of himself, like he put his blood into the spiders and that it was pretty much destined for Peter to become Spider Man, that just instantly ruined the movie for me. The overabundance of villains and just overall, a lot of the writing choices and direction they went with didn't work out in the end. And Tobey Maguire's Spider Man, which is arguably one of my favorites as well. Like I keep saying it while I'm criticizing them. All three of them are amazing, pun intended. But the issue is with Tobey Maguire, I feel like his Spider-Man is a little bit too much of a soy boy, if you will. Now, I don't need Spider-Man to be mean, but the issue with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is that his Peter Parker is this super nice, like just a good boy overall. Like no issues. He doesn't really get overly angry. He doesn't scream at people. He's not a crash out like he was in the comic books. He's not a mean person. Like he's just this good guy. And his Spider-Man is also this good guy, but not like he's not funny. He doesn't have that charisma that Andrew has. Whereas with his Peter Parker is just this like it feels like Spider-Man Peter Parker. I wouldn't be surprised if you were to tell me they were the same person in the Raimi verse because they're both kind, they both make corny jokes, they're both really like just a regular guy. Like you could literally tell me he's Spider-Man and I would believe you because of the fact that he acts a certain way. Like his performance as Peter Parker and Spider-Man isn't that different. He doesn't carry the same charisma that I would expect Spider-Man to have, which Andrew completely nails, by the way. But then again, his Peter Parker is this brash, like tall skater boy teenager, which I also like. Like I said, I rock with that vibe. And Tom Holland's kind of the perfect mix of both. But then you look at his stuff with Iron Man and being surrounded with a big, large universe, which honestly would work, but they just use that universe wrong in the wrong way. Which in Brand New Day, it appears that they're actually using it correctly, which is making me super excited. That's all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video, and peace.